Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Mejia. I'm the CMO at GoTab, and we're here today to talk about guest experience, how to thrive in an instant on-demand world. I'm excited to be joined by a few colleagues and our very special client at Red Light. So I'll start by giving each of them an opportunity to do a quick intro. Brent, you can go first.
My name is Brent Hernandez in Orlando, Florida. I own Red Lights. Been around since about 2005 in the beer world.
Doug?
Doug Cleary, GoTab, Director of Sales Enablement. I get to work with a lot of craft breweries throughout the country. I'm local here in Central Florida, so I get to go into Red Light pretty regularly and work with a lot of breweries on their service and how we use technology for kind of providing an enhanced guest experience.
And Rick.
Yeah, I'm Rick Malthaner. I'm VP of Alliances for GoTab, and that title means I wear a lot of hats. Working with breweries and tap rooms are one of those hats. I've been in and around the hospitality technology space for half my life, and my passion is helping operators make more money by providing a great guest experience.
Cool. So before we get started, I'll just note that we're going to be monitoring any questions. We'll try to cover them in this session. If we don't get to them, we promise to follow up online on our website at gotab.com. And with that, I want to start by asking Brent to share a little bit more about Red Light for the audience.
Yeah, sure thing. So like I said, we started in 2005. We originally were a craft beer bar, and we've expanded a little bit over the years. We started brewing our own beer in 2015 and have expanded that a couple of times. We are one of the only Orval ambassadors in the Southeast, the next closest being Atlanta at the Brick Store, where we were chosen by the monastery in Belgium to represent their brand. We also hosted Cantillon Swansea Day a number of years, going back since 2012, which is also hosting the brewery from Brussels, and only a handful of people in the world are chosen to get that beer. We've been fortunate enough to do that a few times. So like I said, we started in 2005. We've been a pretty analog business over the years. We didn't even have a digital POS for many years. We were cash only for a long time too. So now our next kind of expansion is into food. We're building a kitchen out right now. And with that, we decided that we wanted to upgrade our technology a little bit. And we've been working with GoTab on that.
Cool. Well, we'll have a lot of topics that we promoted, but I think we're going to just have a very simple dialogue here. Doug, I'll hand it off to you to kind of moderate the questions. And again, if you have any comments, questions, you can put them in the comments field and we'll make sure we cover them. Doug?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Patricia. We're going to cover a lot of topics today that are centric to how we're using technology in a way that improves guest experience. And a lot of it's going to be around providing optionality to the guests to kind of choose how they interact with the business. And Brent, you had mentioned that you're more of an analog business. So we've had a little bit of a transition with going from not using really much technology at all to using new tools like QR code ordering, for example, which a lot of tap rooms have started using since COVID. And I know that you had started using a little bit before COVID and now have really seen it take off a lot with guests who are using it throughout the tap room. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about how you've been using QR code ordering as a tool throughout that time frame and how you use it today?
Sure. We started working with GoTab. We were basically running two different POS systems simultaneously for a few years. So I guess it was like around 2018, 2019. Can't remember exactly which year we started with GoTab, but at the time we just had QR codes on the table, and at the time the program didn't allow our servers to really work with people's tabs. It was only just someone at the table could order a beer or something and we'd bring it to them. but we didn't have the capacity to really like add to that. Then flash forward to COVID, and basically we had to turn our business into a retail shop. So we were able to use GoTab to then post our menu online, and people could actually do it from home and pre-order things, and they could come pick it up. So we could fill crowlers and growlers for people, and then they could just swing by and grab it, and we could run it to their car, when it was in that heavy quarantine era
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Then once we kind of got back to normal, we really weren't using it as much, to be honest with you. But GoTab kind of expanded their or your system a little bit more. And once we were talking about building out this kitchen, we kind of started looking into GoTab again and realizing that after the expanded system, it might work out for us. So.
I think I hear them building your kitchen.
Yeah.
Is that what we hear?
No, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's me. We've got the lawn mowing crew decided this is the best time to make a swing through. So yeah.
Sorry. That took me by surprise too. It's not. I thought it would be me.
No, that's not ours. But hopefully, I think like it was a one-time pass through the window. So hopefully that'll be one time. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the call out, Patricia. So you know what? Well, Brent, one of the things that you touched on, I think is good to share, and I'll maybe pass this to Rick, so that way I can go on mute in case they do a pass by one more time. Rick, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what GoTab does as a service, and what exactly that Brent has been talking about in terms of how we've so as they've evolved and they've changed their service model, how is what GoTab brings to the table for technology to the tap rooms changed in that time frame, and why has that been a nice fit in this case?
Yeah, I think the point that you touched on earlier, just around starting with QR and moving that side of things, what we've done at GoTab is we've kind of completed that whole circle of now having point of sale as well. So the beauty of that is, and the thing that Doug touched on that is important is we give the guest the ability to be involved in the transaction as much or as little as they want to be, right? And so what that looks like is, we can start a tab on the point of sale using our Easy Tab feature, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The guest can pick up their tab, so they can have their tab sent to their mobile phone, so that they can then continue to interact with that tab and add more beers and add food as time goes on during their visit there. Or the guest can start right from a QR code and take the whole journey using GoTab by themselves. So I think really it is about putting that in the guest's hands. But what we find is guests do like that control. There's a lot of different pieces that I think Brent can touch on where or reasons why the guest likes that. But in the meantime, you're gaining efficiencies in your operation. You're not having people standing in lines. You're able to serve people more efficiently, which means they then order another beer because they got their beer quickly. And when they're ready for another one, they can be the one that orders. They're not sitting there with an empty glass. So I think that's the beginning. Hopefully I've spent enough time that the lawnmower has gone by and we can pitch it back to Doug.
You know what? I do want to say something. I think everybody loves a redemption story. And I actually feel like this is a GoTab redemption story, because you used us, you put us on the shelf, and we evolved and came to be more relevant to you. So we love you.
Yeah, I think so too. And I no promises. There may still be lawnmowers in the future, but I'll go mute quick if it does. I think that's one of the things we recognize where there's opportunities, and we really felt like there was an opportunity to be able to show how we've changed and be able to be in a position now that Red Light has started to have their change into a new chapter for their business, because for the long time had just been strictly brewery. And that's what I think we see a lot in the brewing space is there's a business that starts out maybe even just home brewing in the garage, and now you find yourself all of a sudden you're brewing and you've opened a tap room, folks are asking for food, and how do you transition the business to that next phase? So some of that's really important for us to be able to be a good support partner as we grow. Brent, maybe tell us a little bit about what's some of the kind of the unexpected, both from the pros and cons of using QR code ordering. Maybe tell us a little bit about, how that's been from the service side, how it's affected people looking at your menu, what they've been accessing.
Sure. Yeah. From the service side, some people jump right into it and love it. And they praise it all the time. I think the biggest thing for me, I was just shocked at how many people, younger people as well, just not wanting to do it. Just like, no, I don't want to do that. I was like, really? Okay. Just doesn't make sense. But Rick mentioned it earlier. We've been using the Easy Tab option a lot since that was developed. So a lot of people don't necessarily want to scan and put their information in right away. By us using that Easy Tab option, it puts all their stuff in the system, and then we text them a link, and then now they can access their tab, and they didn't have to do like any of the legwork to get into that. So that's been really helpful.
If I can add, I think one interesting point when I look at GoTab and since joining the company 10 or 11 months ago, most other QR code systems were add-ons to an existing point of sale, right? They're something that's thought about later. They're typically added on through APIs that were really meant for online ordering. They weren't meant for keeping a tab open and adding to it. So whereas QR is an afterthought to everybody else, QR is where we began, right? So we began with QR and online ordering first in our platform, and then build our point of sale later. And so not to say that point of sale is an afterthought by any means, but it means that we were able to build all the technology from scratch for QR and not have to live within the confines of an older point of sale or even cloud point of sale companies that have added it on. It's not a smooth experience. And so I think that's something guests tend to adopt eventually, right? They might not right away, like Brent said, but once they see sort of how easy it is, I constantly hear on demos, like, you guys are so much different because it's just easy and it's awesome and it flows very easily. And so people want to get involved with it. So I think that's probably the difference from a technological standpoint, or a technology standpoint, I guess, would be the QR came first for us.
Yeah. I think, and you touched on a couple of those things, Rick. So there's a progression of the journey of the technology and the business, but also what that means in terms of the experience from the guest side. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how they're shaping their experience. I think QRs kind of get a bit of a bad rap, because a lot of times they were just kind of thrown together haphazardly, in large part because of COVID, that all of a sudden that all these food and beverage businesses found that there was a need to be able to provide information in a contactless way. So we've all gone out there, we've used a QR code menu that was, a PDF menu that we had to download. It's annoying. It doesn't open up very well. It's not updated. It's difficult for the management to update. Brent, I think talking about from the perspective of what this tool is using is it's putting them into a platform that they're able to access on their phone, that they're actually able to transact through. Tell us a little bit about from the guest side. I know you got that kind of initial thought process that they weren't that savvy with it, but once they started to use it, has that been something that they found has been a little bit easier over that time? Have they asked more questions? Has that changed the service a little bit? What does that look like from the guest perspective side?
Yeah, I think we found we were selling different products more frequently than we were before, because we can show more information on our menus. I have actually one of our old menus here. Like we said, it was like pretty analog, so we had this like leather bound book, and which we still keep these handy and updated. But as you can kind of see, you can only fit like so much on a single line to be able to fit like the price and the bottle size and everything like that. But now that we're using this web-based system, we can have 3 paragraphs or something on a single product, photographs or videos as well, which we haven't had time to do, but we are planning on adding them to our menu.
That's okay. There's a lot of content. Yeah. So the key takeaway is that they're able to browse those menus and then be able to search for, especially in your case, you've got a wide variety of beer from
we have
all over the globe, right?
Yeah, we have an extensive vintage list too. We started aging beers pretty much right after we opened in 2005. So what we've been doing now is we revisit some of those beers periodically. We do weekly staff tastings, and we all sit together and we write on that product in the menu. We'll write a tasting note and the date, and we all contribute tasting notes to see how that product is, aging and how it's progressing over time.
Nice. And you mentioned that you're in the process of building out kitchen right now.
We
Is
are.
this the first time that you're introducing food, or have you guys been having food service before?
Yes, we posted pop-ups and food trucks, and since we've been working with our chef, actually she's been with us basically for 2 years. We've been on this journey for 2 years, and now we're finally have a structure built and everything like that, but not quite finished. But yeah, we've had some pop-ups that have been using our POS system as well, and we've had some good experiences and some interesting experiences out of that. We had one. I don't know if anybody listening has seen that show, The Bear, before on Hulu. It's about a restaurant in Chicago. They decided to do online ordering in an episode, and they didn't really put their inventory counts or anything in there, and they just started, spitting out orders, and they ran out of food before they even really opened. So we worked with the pop-up, and I asked them to give me their inventory counts for each item, and they were like, "Oh no, we'll take care of it. We got it. We'll keep an eye on it." And so I was like, "Okay." So I just kind of hung out around them with my phone because I could access everything from my phone in case I needed to turn off an item from the menu. But we kept asking, like, "How are the counts? How are the counts?" And he's like, "Oh, we're good. We're good." It's like, "Okay." So Chef Jess came out and asked me, like, "How's everything going?" And I was like, "Well, they say they're good on counts." And so she went over to the KDS screen and scrolled through and saw like all the other tickets that they haven't even seen yet, and kind of had to like snap them to reality and like, look at your screen, like do your counts. And he was like, 86 everything right now. So then we turned basically everything off, and took him about an hour and a half or so to actually catch up with all the orders. And then for about 30 minutes, we thought we were going to have to refund people, but luckily we did not. But it all worked out. But it was very stressful. And when I saw that episode of The Bear, I was like, I lived that experience already. So it's pretty funny.
Well, it sounds like you're able to manage it.
Now it's funny. Now it's funny.
Now it's funny, yeah. Like anything.
At the time, it wasn't funny.
Brian, when you're talking about having somebody who's a third-party vendor come in for the day to work off the point of sale for the day, is that pretty common? Does that happen? Have you been doing that for a while? What does that look like? Is that
we haven't been doing it that long. I mean, I guess it's been just a few months. But what I think actually really kind of started was we did a demo, I think, with you, Doug, with the food truck. I was actually not here for that event, but I think that's kind of what gave us the idea, is to try it out. Especially it was like a newer pop-up. They're in the middle of building out their brick and mortar, and they don't have a POS system at all yet. So kind of made sense. And
yeah. So when you're extending that, and what we've done typically with that before is we'll just put their menu onto your point of sale for the day, and then we'll give them a kitchen display screen tablet so that they can just hold on to that to them, and they can see all those orders come in. And that's really helpful for anybody who's doing pop-ups, especially because you don't have to have an Ethernet connection to hook up a printer, right? So like the kitchen display screen is just taking those tickets of those orders.
Yeah, it's all web-based. It's all through the internet, so works out pretty well. Usually they just give me their menu the day of or something, or their inventory counts if it hasn't changed, and punch it in and bring them out 2 tablets and let them rock and roll. Then we cut them a check like for the sales like after the fact.
There you go. Are you using, when it comes to the guest side and then placing those orders, how are you communicating with the guest at that point? Are you, shouting out names to them as the orders are done, or what's the communication piece look like?
Oh, right. When the food's done. Yes. So through the kitchen display system, we're able to go and send the guest a text message. As long as when they order through the system, we send them a text, say, "Hey, your food's ready. Come pick it up at the tent," or wherever. You can change the message to whatever you want. I think currently we say tent because usually we're doing pop-ups outside in a tent. So. But yeah, that works out great. And then they just come pick it up. No lines. They don't have to wait in line to order. There's no queue. I know in that pop-up we were talking about when that night went crazy. That was the first time they had popped up, so it was pretty crazy. But I remember I turned everything on, all their items on my phone, and I scanned a QR code to place an order for my family and I was like number 15, like on the order queue. It was like that fast, everybody just ordering. But yeah, no one has to stand outside in a line. They can order, they can sit down, grab another beer or two, depending on how long the virtual queue is. And then they get a text message like, "Oh, my food's ready. Go get it."
Nice.
That's it.
Right. Maybe you can can you expand on that a little bit? Because we've talked about using the way that we use tools to be able to use communication and help to get a little bit more streamlined communication with guests, and then use it as a line buster. Like, what's the benefit to the businesses that you work with being able to break down a line?
Well, I think definitely in this pop-up situation, people would normally be just outside in a queue or somewhere in a queue and not really buying anything from us at the time or anything like that. So now they can just sit and be comfortable in the air conditioning, because we are in Central Florida and it's only just now getting bearable outside. So it's a little bit better for everybody's experience all around. So we get hopefully get some more beers over the counter. People can enjoy the air conditioning, and yeah, not have to line up in front of our neighbors' windows.
Yeah, the breweries are notorious for their long beer lines, especially the days of the beer releases. I can think about the days where I was waiting a couple of hours and first thing in the morning waiting for the beer to release. So I think if we get an opportunity to not have to do that and then be able to put that and walk away, or maybe go and enjoy sitting down for a drink for a beer, that's a little bit easier to go.
Right. Yeah. So we hosted Swansea Day this year. We just mentioned that a little while ago. So we got one 30-liter keg of the Cantillon Swansea beer. And so what we do with that is we have typically pre-sold it. We measure it out. And we have X amount of 6-ounce pours in the keg. And so we sell that many tickets. Typically, we've done like physical tickets in-house, or we'll take a credit card number over the phone or something like that. But then we have like a Rolodex basically box that we keep everybody's receipts and tickets in, and day of, people have to go. We have to set up a table somewhere. They have to check in, get their ticket, then they can take that to the bar and then get their pour when they come in. But we set everything up through GoTab and did everything online. And we just had a list of names of everybody that bought their ticket, and then they just came in, checked off, and they got their glass right away. So it was a lot smoother, less steps to go through. The guests had to go through less steps to get that glass in their hands. So.
Right, and that's one of the keys, is just making sure that process is a little bit more efficient. I think that's actually a nice segue to maybe shift gears a little bit, because when we're talking about all these aspects about the guest service side, it does have its still effects on an operational side, right? So as we're talking about all these ways in which we're creating little tweaks to be able to adjust on service, then there's going to be effects to things like controlling inventory levels. So we want to make sure that we're able to still reflect what is available for the guest as they're going through. But then as we're doing that, we're also tracking what's being sold, right? So there's benefits to both ends of it. Rick, I know you work a lot with operators on tracking their inventory counts, especially through variance and how that has that effect. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that was one of the things we want to make sure. We had a lot of guests that we talked to recently who wanted to know a little bit more about how that works. Oh, I think you're on mute, Rick.
They're muted.
No lawnmowers here.
There you go.
So I think I'll touch on that in a little bit deeper when we get to, if we have time to talk about what we do for excise tax. But what we do in that world of tracking inventory with what are called variants with a TS at the end. And the way that works is, as everybody knows, you can have multiple pour sizes in a brewery, right? Maybe you have a 2-ounce taster, you have 4-ounce, 8-ounce, 16, whatever. You can set those up under each item to have that pour size. What we then do from an inventory standpoint is we can translate those ounce pours to basically gallons and then barrels, right? And so that really helps us on the calculation of the excise tax side. So I'll dive into a little bit deeper later, but that also helps us with depletion of inventory and knowing, how much has been sold, like toward that, barrel that's on or by gallon. So it makes for great tracking on that.
Great. And we've talked a lot about how this is a balance of both from the service side, both of the guest perspective side and the operating side. Brent, tell us a little, like from the staff's perspective, who have been with Red Light for a while, and they've seen the business really grow and change. How have they been in terms of adapting to this new model for service? Has there been some pushback there? Has that been something that's been helpful? Kind of give us the good, the bad, and the ugly on that?
I mean, there's always a little bit of pushback whenever you do any kind of change, and there's always a bit of a learning curve. But I think everybody jumped on board pretty quickly. I think once they kind of saw the benefits of it, I think one of the biggest things some of the staff has mentioned, if we got behind, big party comes in, or a couple of big parties come in right away, and it takes a while to get all those like 20 beverages out. It could take a while for you to catch up to all the people sitting at the bar or something like that. They've noticed that using the QRs when people are really rocking with it, they're able to recover from that influx a lot faster. So that's been a huge benefit.
And what's that look like from their perspective for the first time that they're coming in? Are they just coming in and sitting down at a table and scanning a QR and they're off and running, or is there some other, like, what's the path for them to?
Yeah, so we keep it pretty casual. It's just people can come in and sit down. We try to greet everybody as they walk in. Everybody on staff always, we have, that's kind of our thing, is to greet them when they walk in, and kind of give them a little rundown, just like, hello, hey, if you guys are sitting at the bar, grab a seat. If you want to sit at a table, we'll come bring you some waters and check on you. We still touch every table, no matter what, even though we have QR codes out there. And then when we greet them, we bring them waters and kind of let them know their options. They could use the QR code, or they can go through the person, or kind of, however they feel comfortable. Like we're able to take care of them.
Excellent. Rick, maybe that's a good time to talk a little bit. What makes it unique by using QR code ordering through GoTab? I mean, there's a lot of folks who are using QR ordering. It feels like there's a new QR ordering company that may pop up every month. Like, what's so special? What makes it a little bit easier from an operational side?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Rick.
Good, Rick. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the big thing that I see is we make it frictionless. We make it very simple. We don't require guests to, for instance, download an app, because we think that introduces friction. We make it very simple for them to sign up. There's no usernames, no passwords. Everything's based on your 10-digit mobile number. So it is pretty easy to scan a QR, add a couple items to your cart. If it's the first time you've used GoTab, you have to put your mobile number in, and it'll confirm that with a 5-digit code. And once we do that, your profile's built. You put a payment on there, and you're good forever. So the next time you come in to Red Light, or any GoTab site, when you scan a QR, everything's there. Your profile's there. Your credit card is tied to it. Your payment's tied to it. So it makes it pretty simple. And so I think what I hear most from guests who use it, I think one of the neat things that we have in there is we do have the ability for the guests to rate GoTab, so they can leave a review. And so most of the times we get things like, this is better than any other QR system I've used. But when you talk to them, most of the time it's that, hey, it worked. That's like the first thing. Doug mentioned so many of them out there set a very low bar during COVID that it's easy for us because it actually works and it's pretty simple to use. So I would say really the lack of the friction is the biggest thing.
Nice. I mean, we've used different systems. I mean, just myself being out and about and dining out. Some of the areas where QR code, if you do end up using that tool, is a bit of a miss. Is like a couple that come to mind for me. So one is that a lot of times if I've gone out and I've ordered somewhere else, not red light, but if I've ordered some other restaurant that's using them, I'll put an order in at the same time as somebody that's part of the same party that I'm with, and we're probably ordering the same thing. Like we both order a couple of sandwiches, and then my sandwich comes out, and then there's a separate sandwich that comes out like 5 minutes later. So like, where's the gap there? So I think when we're having these conversations, we also want to make sure that it works for the business. And Brent's been great with being able to really understand where he wants to take the service to have that go for him in the next phase. And then we've been able to kind of shape how the staff interact and how they give the right calls to action so that they're able to figure out what that looks like from a customer journey perspective. Patricia, anything you want to add on that?
Well, I wanted to note on something you just said, Doug, about you were sitting there and the other person's sandwich came out later. I think one of the cool things on the kitchen display system, if there's multiple parties, all the same table, same QR code, it'll put it on there and it'll say bundle. So you'll know that it's basically the same. They're the same table. It's not, even if the orders come in separately. So you know to all kind of take it to the same region, same table. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, I just wanted Brent to answer the question because every time a customer gets to say something, I'm like, yes. So thank you, Brent.
And
I'm kind of curious about the payment side. So we talk a lot about the ordering side. Talk to us about the payment side from a customer standpoint, or their level of comfort with it. Is that where the kind of payoff for them is? Can you speak a little bit about how your customers are reacting? And then a follow-up is kind of describe your customers to us. I think that might be helpful for people to know, like, what kind of people come to red light.
Gotcha. So I guess the first part of that is first part of that question would be, I'm gonna see how to word this. I guess one of the first things we noticed, I thought it was very humorous. Someone just really did not want to use the QR code because they didn't want to have to enter all their information in. Like, I don't want you to have my information. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then they handed us their credit card, and we put it in the machine and handed it back to them. We're like, well, we just got all your information. So, I mean, that's just, that's part of the modern world, So I think people don't realize sometimes too, they don't realize exactly how open a lot of this stuff is. I mean, don't get me wrong, the information's protected, but I mean, he didn't want to type it in because he thought we wouldn't, does that make sense?
Yep.
It absolutely makes sense. And I think one of the things that we always talk about is, like, GoTab doesn't keep the information. So I think that's the point you're trying to make. Nothing is stored in the system. Right. But somehow
he didn't want to physically type it in. He's like, oh, I don't want you to have my information. And he just gave us the credit card. I was like, well, we got the credit card information now. Like, you just gave it to us.
Right.
Now it's on your tab. So
that's interesting.
Right. So some has perception, but at the same token, it's like, sometimes there's more than one way to achieve the same end, right? Because it's like they're going to use it, but then they don't have to do it in the way that they felt uncomfortable with, which is kind of where we're at. We want to give them that option, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a and back. I guess the second part of Patricia's question is we have a pretty varied clientele. We're a destination craft beer bar when we first opened in 2005 because we're a little bit ahead of the curve in Central Florida on that front. So we have people that have been coming to us for 17 years, but we also get a lot of new people too. And we also are a big neighborhood anchor in our area in Audubon Park Garden District in Orlando. So we have a lot of young families that come in, but you can sit at the bar and there might be someone in their 70s sitting next to someone in their 20s. So it's really widespread. It's just we're kind of a place to get good beer. We do get some tourists and people traveling internationally a lot too, being in Orlando. We just had a guy in this like last week, a week before, came in with luggage straight from the airport, and he was visiting from the UK, so came to get some beer. So it's pretty varied, pretty different.
You're in the right place.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we talked a little bit about front of the house, back of the house. We touched on payments, a lot of different subjects, but I think we kind of noticed like a lot of it kind of weaves in with each other a little bit. When we talked about payments, I know that's like a little bit more of the technical side, but they're placing orders on their phone, but they also have the option that they're ordering traditional point of sale way. I know that you made part of the reason why you wanted to make that transition was that what you had before was not meeting the technical specs for what you needed as a business going forward to the next phase. You want to talk a little bit about what that looked like? And Rick, this might be something for you to share too, because you've got a lot of good knowledge on that.
Yeah. So our last system, we had to swipe their card to start a tab. We couldn't use a chip reader unless we were closing out the tab. So it kind of defeated the purpose of starting the tab in the first place. If we have to like swiping their card and giving it back to them, they shouldn't have to pull their card back out again. And so if we wanted to use the chip, then we had to ask for their card back. And it was like, well, why did we start the tab in the first place? Because the reason we started looking into the chip reader was we had a customer come in and basically refute the sale. And I called the credit card processor, and we had the signed paper receipt that they were here and they signed it. And they said, it doesn't matter. I was like, what do you mean? He said, it was a chipped card and he didn't use the chip. So that's it. I was like, we don't have any leg to stand on. They said no. So we lost that sale. And it's funny, that person did it to a sushi restaurant 2 doors down from us the same night too.
That's right.
So someone knew how it all worked, and we're just repeating all the benefits.
In game the system, it sounds like.
Yeah. So that was one of the things we wanted to switch to, is definitely finding something that used chip readers.
Rick, you've got a lot of experience on the payment side with all sorts of different businesses. What happened there? What was that all about?
Yeah, so it goes back a few years now. We in the U.S. we took a little bit longer than the rest of the world to adopt chip and pin, or EMV as we call it. But it finally happened probably about 4 or 5 years ago, where the liability shift happened. And what that means is the card brands put the liability after a certain date. I want to say it was October 1st to 17. That sticks out in my mind. But you can Google the PCI liability shift. And what happened was on that date, it became up to the operator. If the operator was going to use a traditional mag stripe reader, as has been typical for years and years, what those mag stripe readers do is they read clear text, right? So when you swipe your card through that, it actually is just like a keyboard. It's a USB HID interface. Now I'm getting a little too technical, but it sends clear text. Never. So it can be intercepted is the point there. And so point of sale stopped storing that information years ago, or at least they stored encrypted, hopefully. But what it meant was that if you used a magstripe reader instead of EMV, it was now no longer on the card brand. It was the liability fell with the operator of that business. And that's why, as Brent mentioned, chargebacks, you will lose them if you're on magstripe readers. So it's something that it's still kind of not front and center out there in the world of point of sale and payments, but it's something that as things continue down the road, people start to see increased fees from their credit card processors if they're using Magstripe. So
great. And I think the key takeaway there is that you want to Google PCI liability shift, and that if you swipe a chip reader card, then you don't have the ability to take a chip read on your point of sale, then that's could cause some headaches for you as a business. So just as a quick self-assessment on that, if you find yourself in that category, it's worth looking into, because it could end up finding in the exact same position where you're susceptible to a chargeback. From that hardware side, when we're talking about that ability to be able to reduce friction and be able to give guests the option on whether they're going to order, Brent, you've been using something that's pretty unique, specific to GoTab, what we're calling Easy Tab. You talk a little bit about what that looks like from an order flow perspective, and why that's been really special in this case, and how it's been helpful for you and your guests?
Sure. So if people don't want to use the QR codes, and we tell all of our employees to use the Easy Tab system, and basically they take their order, and we have the PAX system. Is that correct? Is that the correct term? And so basically we take their chip card, insert it, and then I think Rick mentioned this earlier, then we can enter their phone number in, and then they get a text message, and they can now access their tab themselves without having to come see us. So it did all the legwork of scanning the QR code for the first time and have to enter in all their information, like their personal information to that. It's funny, we were just talking about this the other day. So we have tablets as well as the PAX systems. And now that we're pretty much using the PAX systems for like everything, we hardly ever touch the tablets anymore, to start a tab or, work on a tab, since we can do everything on that little handheld device. It's pretty much all we ever use. So we're actually looking, actually sent an email last week to order some more of those. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
And that probably makes it easy when you're doing.
It's been a lot easy, yeah.
And for that case, if you're doing, outdoor events, or you're going somewhere where you're starting to venture outside of the space, is that something that you're using?
Yeah, we haven't really done that yet, but because we don't have enough yet. We only have 3, but once we get another one, or at least 2 more, that's kind of the plan. We do a lot of the neighborhood events. Actually, this Saturday, our neighborhood is doing a big fall festival outside, all over the whole neighborhood, and so we usually set up either a bar, or this time we're actually doing like a pop-up kitchen. So we'll be out there selling smash burgers and some beers. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and probably in that vein, before we open it up to any questions, maybe for anybody who's listening, who's in Central Florida, that wants to visit Red Light, and is looking to make a stop over, tell everybody a little bit about what they can expect. Are there any special events going on? What's the timeline on ramping up for the new kitchen as you change into becoming more of that full system brew pub?
Yeah, the kitchen question's a little bit loaded right now. I actually have a meeting with our general contractor later today. So we have a couple of things we need to fix in there. So I think we might have a little bit of a timeline setback on that. But we do have some events coming up soon. We're actually going to be hosting Brewery Tolkien from Belgium. They're a lambic producer. We're going to have, I think, 8 to 10 fruited mirts that they do on tap. And they're basically kind of creating their version of a Swansea Day as well. So I think it's coming up in November. Yeah. November 12th. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that.
Curious, related to your events, Brent, can you talk to us about how you do like mug clubs or industry nights or any of those kinds of things where maybe you're offering a discount?
Yeah, we do a couple things actually. Well, we have a system that we created before we were a brewery, when we were just a beer bar. It's called a citizenship program, and we have these booklets that are shaped like passports. There's a green, a yellow, and a red, and you basically take people on a journey through beer, learning about all the different styles. And then at the end, you get like a stainless steel little card with the logo that says like Red Light Citizen on it. So we do basically we wanted to start like a beer club kind of thing that lasts longer than like just getting a T-shirt and a bar tab when you finish. So we do it every Sunday. We have a Citizen Sunday, and they have discounts. So we basically can put people into different segments. And so they scan a QR code, and now whenever they order, they get a discount like on that given day or any day, depending on how we set it up. We also do a service industry night every Monday for friends in the industry. And we have special menus, actually. So if you scan a QR code, if you're in the service industry, we'll give you a QR code to scan. And now when you come in on Monday, only those people can see this special menu. And we have like deeper discounts like on those menus for those people. So it's been pretty fun.
Yeah, it sounds like, I know we talked, I guess, in the beginning of the summer before the other event that we did together. It feels like you've gone through quite an evolution. Any thoughts about the future? You know, not to give away any secrets, but what are your thoughts about the future in terms of how you're going to start to really utilize the technology?
Like I mentioned earlier, definitely want to start adding pictures and videos to a lot of the items in there. We just haven't found a time to get some of that done. Besides that, I don't know. I guess it's more just like the kitchen and working with bringing food into the building. Yeah, I think so. Mentioned earlier for pop-ups, we send people text messages, come pick up their food. We're going to do a little bit more traditional service in here. We'll have food runners run to the tables, but I would say if we're still doing like a big Oktoberfest event and we're probably setting up a secondary kitchen outside, then we'll probably still use some of that text messaging for that.
You know, we haven't spoken about it, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up in the conversation or in the questions. What about staffing? Like, as you're adding the new service, are you adding more staff? And talk to us about what, you know, the impacts to your staffing model have been.
Yeah, we're definitely adding more staff. Well, we're hiring a lot more people for kitchen. So we only have one right now. But yeah, we're going to be adding servers and like probably food runners. So we're kind of billing it as the kind of a first entry level job. We'll have a manager doing expo, and then someone just kind of delivering the food to the table. So at least that's our plan. Ask me in 6 months, it might change.
Yeah,
it just always does. Whenever you start something new, it changes.
So. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So you can find the right balance as you're growing. I think that's kind of the key takeaway of one of the key takeaways we want to make sure that everyone kind of hears about is that it's if you're using QR code ordering, you're using kitchen display screens, these are tools to be able to provide an enhanced guest experience. It's just a way to be able to offer some optionality with the guests, but if they want to order at through traditional point of sale, there's different ways to be able to shape the customer journey on that. So we're really trying to show all the different ways to be able to use these tools to your advantage so that you can determine what works best for your business as you grow. And some folks, in cases like with Brent's at Red Light, they've leaned into these tools and be able to use them really well. And we're still going to grow together with being able to access some of that great content between all the different events that you guys are doing, the very unique beers that you serve. And we're just thrilled to be continuing to build our partnership together.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we started out, we were one of the only people in to get craft beer. That is not the case anymore. So the only thing we can really do is provide it better. So, we brew our own beer, so we will at least try to maintain the highest quality of our own beers, but we still serve all the other. We have a lot more guest beers than most breweries do. So it's the same beers that anybody else can order. Distributors all have the same thing. So one of the things we focus on is making sure we provide the best service we can, because that's one of the only variables that we really have, an opportunity to manipulate. So. I think that's helping. I hope it's helping. I hope it's
I mean,
it's helping. It's helping.
lots of topics to cover, and I think we covered a really good amount. So all in all for today. Patricia, any other questions that came up? Anything we want to add?
No, we don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay, great. Patricia, you want to share in case anybody has any questions or wants to get some more information on GoTab, or also understanding where to find Red Light. We talked about Red Light in Orlando, but how do they find GoTab?
Of course. First, I want to say thank you to Brent for being here with us. We really appreciate your commitment to spending time with the craft beer professionals team, and also definitely want to thank the Craft Beer Professionals organization for giving us this opportunity. So first things first. And then secondly, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at info@gotab.io or visit us at gotab.com. And we can also connect you with Brent, and we'll even buy you a beer. So feel free to reach out to us.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.